Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Rover Turbo. In this video, part 3 on the Golf GTi. There's two other parts to this, one where I bought it and the second one where I start to remove the head. So basically in this video, I start stripping down the head, cleaning it all out, and then obviously getting it prepared, ready to be rebuilt. So follow me along, like, subscribe and share as always. Tick that bell so you get notifications, because you don't get notifications automatically unless you tick that bell. So let's crack on. So this is the GTi head. Literally took it off yesterday. I've got a problem with one of the exhaust manifold studs snapped off. So what I've done is I've removed them all, and I'm going to replace them all. So I'll run a tap, so it's an M8 1.25, and I'll run a tap down all of these holes just to clear them out, and I'll buy some new studs, because these are the clamps I was talking about on the bottom, and they don't actually clamp onto the exhaust manifold, they just sort of hold it in place. I think it would be easier getting the exhaust manifold in if the studs aren't there. Put the exhaust manifold in and then screw the studs in. This is my working area. So this is just months of not tidying up, doing stuff, taking stuff apart, and ending up with just bits of broken bits and stuff everywhere. So I want to completely clean all of this area off so I can get the head on here and start stripping it down and get the valves out, start inspecting stuff. So that's my next job. Right, so there you go, it's all completely clean now. So we'll get the I'm not too bothered, I've given it a wipe down with some brake clean, but I'm going to make a mess taking the head apart. So obviously when I put it back together, I'll put something clean down so I can put the head onto it, but it's obviously going to be covered in oil. So I can't remember whether I actually showed you down in here, but these are the inlets. The exhausts aren't too bad, but that's just horrific, isn't it? I mean, this is what happens in a direct injection engine. There is no petrol to wash the back of the inlet valve, so all the carbon gets stuck to the back of the valve. So right, I have got a couple of valve spring compressors because I think that's probably the best place to start. Right, that's one of the inlet valves out, but as you can see, there is a lot of build-up on the back of that valve, and you can see where they touched. I think it's just clipped it because it's knocked off the carbon on it. Seat looks alright, but then the inlets are going to be pretty good anyway. It's the exhausts. So right, let me get this spring compressor set up on the next inlet, and I'll set up the tripod and I'll show you how I took it out. Basically, you have to set this up in such a way that the distance between here is correct, because you don't want to compress the spring too much and you don't want it to do too little. So the principles is that this goes on the back side of the valve on the head face, and then this goes on the top of the valve head, and obviously when you compress it, it compresses the valve. Like so. And then the idea is using a pick and a magnet. You want to pick off the collets off the top of the valve head and then catch them in the magnet so they don't go all over the floor. Like that. There's one. there's two. I wish that had happened on the first one because one of the collets fell on the floor. Spent ages trying to find it. So that's the two collets out. And then that then allows you to take the spring off and then push the valve out. Again, the top of the valve's there. Oh, sorry, there you can see the valve stem oil seal. So I'm going to line all these up here. So left to right, obviously all the inlets at the front, and then all the exhausts at the back. Keep all the collets together, the springs together, and the valves together. Obviously, if I replace the valves, it's not going to make any difference, the locations of the valves, but obviously the springs, you should put them back where they came out ideally. So I'm going to do that on all other of the valves. Okay, so these are the exhaust valves, which aren't too bad really. I mean, obviously got a bit of carbon on them, and obviously the seat as you'd expect, but not too bad. So I've got all the inlets out, so I'm just starting on the exhausts. There's a lot of carbon in there, so I'm going to start now giving it a clean. Probably start with the surface because I need to get that checked with a straight edge. Cleaned up the head a bit, so it looks much better now. Ports and stuff look a lot cleaner than they were. So all I need to do now is I need to check the head for flat, which I'm hoping it's going to be. And also what I need to do is, I think I need a special tool. I've got one off, but it was a complete and utter you-know-what to get off the valve stem oil seals. So I believe the tool is kind of like a pair of pliers, but they're sort of cupped at the end, so they actually fit snugly round, so you can pull them off. They've been on there a few, 1,000 miles, so it's not just gonna come off easily. So yeah, valve stem oil seals, check it for flat, and then I can give everything a good proper clean, blow out all the blow out all the oil lines, and then give everything a proper clean, and then I can start reassembly of the new valves. So this is the exhaust side of the head, and as we know, one of the studs snapped off in the head, so I need to deal with that. But what I also decided to do was to take out all of the studs, which are here. So there's 4 longer ones that go in the bottom for these 2 aluminium plates. So I'm going to order some new exhaust studs and bolts to go there. So what I'm doing at the moment, this is a M8 1.25 tap, and I've got it in a special tap holder, so you can get so obviously you'd never get a tap in there because it would just hit the cylinder head. So with a 1/4 inch extension bar and a ratchet, I'm just running the tap down carefully with some penetrating oil down all of the holes, just to clean out the threads basically. And then this one, I'm probably going to drill it out, center it, drill it out, and probably try and use a stud extractor, an easy out, which is like a reverse thread. And what I'll probably do, bearing in mind these weren't massively tight, well they were quite tight but they weren't really tight, and then gently heat the aluminium. I'm hoping the aluminium head will expand quicker than the bolt and it will come out with an easy out. If not, that's going to have to be completely drilled out and tapped, retapped for the correct size. Right, so that's the head ready. I've drilled and tapped out the exhaust manifold stud that I snapped off. Assuming it was that one. Yeah. So I've cleaned it all, given it a good blowout with the airline, some brake clean. So now it's all ready for me to lap the new valves in. So I did also find this, which goes in the bottom of the head, which looks like it's the oil feed from the block from the engine up into the head. Now this has a sort of like a one-way valve in it, but it keeps getting stuck. That's how it was when I actually got it. When I actually got it out, it was sort of stuck at an angle like that. So it keeps doing that when I push it. So I'm going to see if I can phone VW and get a replacement one of these. Doesn't look serviceable, so I don't know whether that's going to cause, well, it will be causing problems if it keeps getting stuck, an oil feed to the head. So right, next thing I'm going to do is obviously do the valves. Obviously the new valves, not the old valves. So I've just picked up from Volkswagen. I ordered it, rang my local Volkswagen and picked up the new valve. And this is the part number here. And this one, this is the old one. So when you push it, sometimes it gets stuck like that. Well, the new one doesn't do that, so there's obviously a fault with that. So obviously that one will be going back in. Right, so I'm just in the process of lapping in the valves. You have to bear with me on the wind noise if you can hear it. I've done all of the valves now, so these valves are in order of how they sit in the car. So exhaust valves at the back, 1 to 8, then inlets at the front, obviously 1 to 8. So I've already done them all in the head, apart from one. So you can see these have all been lapped in, and this one hasn't. See how it's all shiny? And this is matte, so it's the matte finish you're looking for. So I thought I'd just give you a quick rundown on exactly what it is that I do on the last one. So the valves come sealed in this little baggie. So that's the replacement valve. When you're lapping them in, you want a nice grey finish on the base of the valve. So if I get you this one here, so the one on the left there is got a nice grey matte finish, and that's a shiny finish. So basically both of the surfaces have to be that matte finish. And I'm just putting them back, put the springs back on the correct, with the collets that going with the appropriate valve. So obviously just doing the last one, which is this one. So basically what I've got is some coarse grinding paste and some fine grinding paste. It's both ends, but I haven't got a lot left of the fine. So what I basically do is, first of all, because normally you use those suction pads, cups on the actual base of the valve, and then you twiddle it in between your fingers. Now I ain't got time for that, so what I do to get a bit of WD-40, and I'll spray it down in the valve guide just a little bit, and then I smear coarse grinding paste on the surface of the valve. Okay, like that. And then we put it in the corresponding valve. Like that. And then the next thing we do is I've got this drill here with an old drill bit and a piece of fuel hose. I'm not sure what it is. And I've obviously zip tied, and then that goes on the end of the valve. So that there just pushes on the end of the valve. So what you basically do, you just do that. This is exactly the same as you'd do with your hands, backwards and forwards. Just you're saving your hands, the suction cup doesn't fall off every 5 seconds. And basically you just keep doing that, in and out, in and out, in and out. Apply a bit more paste, keep going, take the valve out, clean it all up, a bit more paste and keep going and keep going. Right, so that's with one go with it. You can see that band that's going on it. What you want is you want a continuous wide band, as wide as the seat, all the way around with no black pitting. So I mean, these are old valve seats, so you know I haven't recut them or reset them or anything, so obviously this one needs a little bit more, as you can see, compared to that one. So I'm going to keep going with a bit more coarse, and then I'm going to then do it all over again with the fine, clean it all up, and then basically that's all of the valves done. So after I've done that, I'm going to give the head a good clean again, and then I'm going to insert the valve stem oil seals, put the valves in, put the springs back on, clean the springs up, put the springs back in, and then start building the head back up again. All the valves are done. That's the last one. You can see that, and obviously the valve. So that's it. So that will then go over here in order. I mean, you can just see, I'll show you in a sec, the old inlet valves. It just would have taken forever to clean those off. So good decision. Change the valves. It's just so much quicker than having to, I would have to put each one of those in a drill and run like an old chisel up and down them. So one big job done. Okay, so there you go. That's the end of part 3. You would have seen obviously me getting all the valves lapped in and ready to reassemble the head. So in part 4 it will be me reassembling the head, and yeah, so look forward to that one. Hit subscribe so obviously you'll get notifications. So I'll see you soon. Cheers, bye.